Verse 11 says that the heart of her husband trusts in her safely. He trusts her. Not that she is constantly trying to earn his trust, not that she's trying to prove herself daily. He trusts her. Let's unpack that. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm Rebecca Massey, and we are unpacking the Proverbs 31 woman. We have gone through how she delegated. She didn't do it all herself. She's created wealth. She was a business owner and an entrepreneur. She cared for herself. She spoke with authority. And today we're going to unpack that her husband trusted her. So if you have spent your marriage performing, people-pleasing, or walking on eggshells, this episode is going to change everything. I just want to quickly remind you, don't forget to grab the download in the description box below of the Bible study workbook that goes along with this series. So the first point I want to bring up today is that her husband trusts her. In verse 11, it says, the heart of her husband trusts in her safely, and he will have no lack of gain. The very next verse says that she does him good, not harm, all the days of her life. He trusts her. This is a present tense word. It's not something that she's having to work toward or that she hopes to have one day. It is present. It is constant. It is settled and it is secure. She's not performing to earn his trust. She's actually operating from a place of being trusted. Verse 23 says that her husband is known in the city gates. He sits among the elders of the land. We've talked briefly about in previous episodes that everything she does, it actually makes him look good. He trusts her to make him look good. So if she's going to make a business decision, he trusts her to make a wise decision. Everything she's doing makes him look better. So he's sitting in the gates and he is revered by his peers. And it's in no short doubt that it's because of his wife. But here's the caveat to that too. She's not threatened by his success. He's not threatened by hers. They both thrive. This is a partnership. It's not hierarchy. There's a mutual respect here. It's not a one-sided submission. See, we've been taught that the Proverbs 31 woman is this submissive, meek, doormat to her husband, and she's doing all these things, and she's this perfect ideological goal to live up to. But when you really dig into it, she is. However, she's not who we've always been taught she is. She actually has a submissive relationship to her husband. She's not trying to take over his position. She's not trying to lord over him. They are partners. Even scripture supports this so many times throughout the word that the two shall become one. The two shall come together and become one. It is not good for man to be alone. Eve was made out of Adam, the feminine and the masculine. And it was not good for Adam to be both. He had to have this partner to come and help him. And he needed her. Men need women and women need men. It's a partnership. And so we see so much where marriages we have this hierarchical view of the husband is the head and the wife is underneath. But in reality is you're supposed to be partners. I remember going through this, inner healing conference one time, and I drew out this picture of what I saw my marriage like, and it was this hierarchical view. It was God, and then and then it was my husband, and then it was me. And in my mind, I was thinking, now this is many, many, many years ago, but in my mind, I was thinking, okay, God speaks to him, and then he speaks to me, and there's this hierarchical thing. When reality is, the picture God showed me was a completely different picture. There wasn't my husband standing in between me and God. We were standing in front of God equally together, shoulder to shoulder. And God showed me this picture, so I drew that picture out next. And he was speaking to me of like, this is what marriage is supposed to look like. What you've drawn is a distorted, perverted view of marriage. This is the picture I want you to have, where you're both standing together as one in front of the Lord. And that's the way it should be in everything. We are partners with our husbands. We are not their doormat. You may not have that kind of husband. You may have a husband who wants you to be a doormat. And I pray that God will give you insight and words and wisdom in order to be able to walk in your authority and your destiny, regardless of your situation. However, most of us have really good husbands who want us to succeed. We just don't believe it about ourselves. We don't believe the things about ourselves. We have this idea in our head that we're supposed to be this or that or the other, when reality is we're supposed to be a partner. And most of the time, I won't say it's true every single time, but a lot of the time, our husband wants a partner. He's not looking for just a mate. They want someone in the trenches with them. And I will give my husband credit. If I had been that meek, let me just be your doormat. When I was living in that mentality, those were the worst years of our marriage. It was tumultuous. And he was not happy. I was certainly not happy because I was trying to be everything I thought he wanted me to be, when reality is all he really wanted me to be was who I was meant to be. He wanted a partner. He didn't want this scurrying, this little wife that was scurrying around behind him, begging for his approval. It was exhausting for him for me to live like that. It was exhausting for me to live like that. It was not who I was supposed to be. When I started understanding the importance of identity and who I am in Christ, and I started walking in that authority, I became the wife he always wanted, a partner. Which brings me to my second point, that we've been believing this lie that a good wife constantly performs and sacrifices herself. Where does this come from? It's the same place everything else comes from. It comes from a spirit of religion. It comes from purity culture. It comes from this complementarian theology that's been taken to extremes for the term of submission, and it's been twisted into self-erasure. It comes from this spirit of wanting to control and manipulate. And it can show up in your life in ways of like, if you're walking on why can't I say that? If you're walking on eggshells, I keep wanting to say on eggshells. If you're walking on eggshells, if you're managing his emotions, or you're starting to lose yourself in marriage, you never disagree. You sacrifice your needs and dream in your voice. You sacrifice yourself for everyone else. The belief behind it is that a good wife always keeps the peace. At all costs, no matter what. She doesn't challenge him. She makes herself small so that he can feel big. We have this mentality of we have to speak to our husbands' egos in order for them to feel like somebody. I'm not saying you should be mean to your husband. No. But you shouldn't make yourself small so that he can feel better. If he is asking you to make yourself feel small so that he can feel big, then he has his own inner healing journey to go on. He has his own dysfunction to work out with the Lord. And that is not your responsibility. That's his. All this is rooted in this orphan spirit that says that I must earn his approval every single day. I have to prove to him that I'm worth keeping, and my job is to make him happy. Let me tell you something right now. Happiness is a choice. Happiness is a choice. You can choose to be happy. Not everything's going to make you happy, but you can choose to be happy, even in the middle of a storm, even in the middle of chaos and catastrophe. Your emotions are your choice. I'm not saying that every emotion you feel means that you chose to feel it. Sometimes you feel things just because you feel things. Sometimes you have emotions just because you have emotions. If a loved one dies, you feel sad and you grieve. And that's a natural thing, and that's okay. It's not that, I'm choosing sadness. No, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you choose everything. However, I can tell you, if we're looking for the world or other people to make us happy, our happiness is dependent upon our choice. I can choose to be happy even if my husband is a jerk. Even if he is being mean to me, what he is doing does not make me happy, but I can still choose to be happy in the midst of it. And I'm telling you right now, it is simple, but it is not easy. And it requires knowing who you are in the Lord. It requires knowing your identity in Christ. You cannot do it without that. The sonship identity and the daughter of the king mentality says that I am already worthy. I am a trusted partner. I do bring value, and we're both called to love and serve. So if you're wondering if you're dealing with approval addiction, you probably are. We all are to some degree, right? We all want our husbands to be happy with us. However, if they're not, if we are doing everything that we know to do to be a good and righteous, following God, putting God first in our life, pursuing passions, going after whatever God's called us to do, and we're not doing some shady stuff, if you're not doing shady stuff to make your husband question you, then there's no reason why you shouldn't feel like you are worthy and good enough. But if you're feeling like you have to constantly perform, or you have fear-based decision-making, you're constantly people-pleasing, or you're losing your identity, you are not walking in your identity. You are walking in the identity you believe that your husband is going to give you. You are placing your identity and your self-worth in someone else. When God has already said, you are good, you are worthy, you are my delightful daughter. Now, this is a harsh saying, but if God says that about you, why on earth would you put anything else above that? If you put more value in what someone else has to say about you and your worth over what God says about you, then you have just made that person your God. Let that sink in. You've just made that person your God, because God already said that you're good enough. God already said that you're worthy. God already said that you are worth having a voice. You have a voice, use it. God already said that you are a good woman. God already said that you are a good wife. God already said that you are his daughter, and he delights in you. So if we push that aside and we only live by what we think other people think about us, then we are making them our God, because we are exalting what they think about us above what God has already said about us. And it is idolatry. And scripture calls it worse than witchcraft. So if you're doing shady stuff, quit doing shady stuff. Just stop being shady. Be the righteous woman you were made to be. Be the righteous woman you were called to be. Stop doing shady stuff. Quit living below your identity. Quit living below what you're calling. Quit living below who you are, who you really are. When we're doing shady stuff, we're living below our means. So just quit living below your means and quit doing shady stuff. And therefore, there's no reason why your husband shouldn't be able to trust you. When you stop living below your means, you start living an identity. You start living as a daughter of the king. You start living out that Proverbs 31 woman. You start living out your destiny and your calling. And that woman is a force to be reckoned with. A fourth point I want to bring up is the partnership identity framework. The framework behind this concept is basically to shift from being a performing wife to a trusted partner who is operating from the daughterhood mentality. The old paradigm is, it's hierarchical. He leads, I follow. He decides, I submit. He's the head, I'm the helper. But the new paradigm is a partnership where you come together. We're co-heirs. We're both called to mutual submission, and we're each bringing our own unique strengths. The old belief is, my job is to make him happy, and I'm supposed to keep the peace and never rock the boat. But the new belief is, no, my job is to be honest, to partner well, and to honor both of us. The old belief is, I need his approval in order to feel secure. And if he's unhappy, then that means I've failed. But the new belief should be, no, I'm secure in my identity and I love him and I don't need his validation to know that I am worthy. Now, let me say something about this real quick. We all want our husbands to be happy with us. We all want to feel adored, loved, wanted. We all want our husbands to look at us with admiration and love and that security in that relationship. But if we're looking to that relationship to get our own self-worth, we're looking in the wrong place. You may not have that from your husband. That doesn't mean you're not worthy. If you walk in your identity as I am worthy, whether my husband sees it or not, that is who you're called to be. Hopefully he does. But if he doesn't, it doesn't negate the truth. It doesn't mean that you're not worthy already. He's just blind. When you start walking in your identity and you start understanding that you are worthy, whether or not you receive it from your husband, you're able to actually receive from him when he does feel that way. You're actually able to receive from him more of being wanted, loved, secure, because you're walking in the identity of, I know who I am. I know that I'm worthy with or without you. Therefore, when he does speak life into you, you're able to receive it more. If you're constantly looking for validation from your husband, if you're constantly looking for him to reinforce that you're good enough, you're going to be constantly pulling that from him. You're going to be constantly draining him. You're going to be constantly seeking it, because that is a bottomless pit. That is an ever hungry monster. It's never satisfied. I can tell you right now, if you are looking to your husband to make you feel good enough, that is an animal that can never be satiated. It will always need more. It will always need another validation. It will always need another affirmation. It will always need something from you. It will always need something from others in order to make you feel good. But when you were receiving that from the Lord through identity and knowing who you are, that animal dies. It's like a tapeworm. It just constantly gobbles everything up, wanting more. But when you start living from identity, that tapeworm dries up. Here are some things that change in your marital relationship when you start operating from secure identity. First of all, you'll be able to disagree without fear. You can have needs without feeling guilty. You can pursue your dreams without having to ask for permission, if it's okay. Now, I want to say something about that really quick. I'm not saying that all of a sudden, well, Rebecca said, I don't even need your permission to go spend $100,000 on this new business venture. I am not saying that. Anytime, whatever your agreement is with money or whatever you guys have set out in your relationship, honor that. Honor that. I would not encourage you to go spend $100,000 on a business adventure or a business venture without consulting your husband first. Let's be wise here. However, your dream may not be to go do that. Your dream may be to take an art class, or your dream may be to fill in the blank. The difference between asking permission versus making sure that you're both in mutual agreement is orphan, son, victim, power. You're asking, I was wondering if, you would be okay if I maybe did this, or, I was thinking about maybe going back to school, or I was thinking about maybe taking an art class, or I was just thinking about maybe I wouldn't mind like starting my own business. I would like to make soap. And I was just wondering if, you'd be okay with that. Like, is it okay with you if I do that? Versus, hey, honey, I'd really like to start my own business. Can you help me figure out a way that we can do this financially so that it's not impeding on our budget? And like, can you help me like work out a budget for it? You're not asking him permission on the second one. You're saying, hey, I want to do this. Can we work together so that we're both in alignment and in an agreement that, if it's a financial investment, that it's not going to break the bank. It's not going to put the household in jeopardy, but you're going to do it. Help me figure out a way to do it well. Comes back. That's a partnership. That's coming back to being a partner. Once you get the business up and going, you can run the business as you please. You don't have to ask him. If you start a restaurant, hey, hon, can I, we're running out of rice and I need to make another order of rice and I want to make sure you're okay with that. Please. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that. He's going to trust your judgment to order rice or bread or whatever else you need. You're running a business. You're not having to ask him permission for it. You're not having to ask him permission to even start one. But you are inviting him to come along as a partner in helping you make wise decisions. See the difference there? The other thing that will change in your relationship when you start walking in your authority and identity is that you'll be able to challenge him when it's necessary. Notice I say when it's necessary. I'm not saying that you should challenge him on every single thing. There's wisdom in choosing to sometimes be quiet. Like I said in the last episode, I choose sometimes to be quiet out of kindness and because it doesn't serve me well. There are times, though, that I will challenge my husband because it's necessary for me to challenge him on something. So use wisdom, pick your fights, pick your battles. Don't just go in there gung-ho against everything. He needs some wins too. Don't be an obstinate wife. That's not what I'm encouraging you to do. I am encouraging you to walk in authority and to walk in your identity. But I'm also encouraging you to be a partner with your husband, not start trying to beat him over the head. Don't do that. That's not a partner. That's you trying to lord over him and take his place. And you're called to be partners. That's you being a partner. That's you being a good partner. If you were in partnership with another person, say it's not your husband, say it's your friend, the two of you start a business together and you go into partnership, you wouldn't make major business decisions for your business without consulting with your partner. Same applies here. Act as a partner, not someone to lord over him, but also not someone to beg him for approval. There's a huge difference. The other thing that will change in your relationship when you start walking in your identity is that you'll be able to be honest instead of feeling like you need to manage his emotions. You'll be able to use your voice and speak up when you need to. And you can be honest about things and not feel like, I need to manage him because he might get explosive or he might go off or he might do this or might do that. No, you don't need to manage his emotions. His emotions are his to manage. They're not yours to manage. But again, I'm not saying go beat him over the head. I'm saying be a partner. And you can still be honest as being a partner. In fact, partnership requires honesty. If it doesn't have honesty, it's not much of a partnership. And I think it's really important that we talk about the difference between biblical submission and erasure. See, biblical submission, you read it in Ephesians 5, it's a mutual thing. It's reciprocal. It's honoring. But self-erasure is one-sided, it's fear-based, and it's a loss of identity. I want you to understand that you're not dishonoring him by being yourself. You're actually honoring the partnership by showing up fully. The fourth point I want to bring up is practical application. What does that look like today in real life? Well, here's some specific shifts for you to practice. First of all, stop trying to manage his emotions. Let him feel what he feels. His emotions are his to manage and his to work through. Stop performing to gain or earn his approval. You've already got it. If you don't have it, then your relationship has deeper issues that you probably need to address. But more than likely, you've already got his approval. He married you. He likes you. He wants you. If he's still married to you, he's chosen to stay there. You've already got his approval. Quit trying to earn it. Start being honest about your needs, your desires, and your dreams. I love the term, the word intimacy. See, we use that word intimacy most of the time just to mean something about sex. However, intimacy is so much more than that. I love when you break the word down. Intimacy is into me, you see. Intimacy is being able to share your dreams, share your desires, share your fears, being transparent and honest with your husband, being open with your partner, being in a partnership, having intimacy. Let him in. Let him know who you are. Be honest about those things. When you disagree about something, start disagreeing. Do it kindly, but do it clearly. It's okay to have a disagreement. Having a disagreement on something doesn't mean that you're going to have a big blow-up argument. You can disagree. If he loses it and makes it into a big blow-up argument, you keep your cool, you relax, Stay firm and secure in your identity, but state it clearly that you disagree. It's okay that you don't have to agree on everything. And it's okay. Which brings me to my last one. Start making decisions from your identity, not his reactions. Not everything is going to work out perfectly. Not everything is going to be rainbows and sunshine. I am not telling you that, oh my gosh, your marriage is going to be amazing and nothing's ever going to come up and you're not ever going to have issues. Listen, if you've been married for any length of time, you know that's a bunch of hogwash. There's always going to be issues. There's always going to be something. There's always going to be life. Especially if you have two people who have completely different opposite personalities, it's going to be a little sandpaper there. But you can work together as partnership. And in fact, most of the time, your strengths are where he's weak and vice versa. Together, you become one. You make a really strong dynamic together, but only if you see yourself as that. Only if you see yourself as a partner, not a doormat. Now, here's a few things that might happen when you start living this way. He might be surprised. Okay, he will be surprised. All right. You've been performing this whole time, and now you're being real. He may not know what to do with that. He may not know whether to wind his butt or scratch his watch for a little while. That's okay. You keep walking. What it is the two of you have danced this particular dance your whole lives. And now you're going to start dancing a different dance, and he doesn't know the steps yet. You can learn them together. You can teach him. He's smart. He'll figure it out. The two of you will figure it out together. There may even be some conflict. Okay, there's probably going to be conflict. Healthy relationships have conflict. It's just a matter of when, not if. How we deal with that conflict is what's important. You may notice that he actually steps up a little bit. If you have been over functioning on everything, now he has some space to lead and help. Or he may totally resist it. He may not like it to the point where he has a tantrum even. That says everything about him and not you. If he has that kind of negative reaction to you walking in authority and identity, that says everything about him. It doesn't say anything about you. You keep walking in your identity. That is who God has called you to be. He has called you to live as a son, as a daughter of the King. Don't throw away your godly destiny. And I also want to address any fear that you may have that's telling you, what if he doesn't like the real me? If that's the case, then you have your information. But you can't build a real relationship on performance. So I want to challenge you. This week, I want you to be honest about one thing that you've been hiding or managing or performing. Say the thing. Say it. State the need. Stop over functioning in one area of your life. Just one. In our next episode, we're going to start talking about how she feared the Lord and not other people. This is the foundation of everything, and we're going to bring it all together. What is one thing that you can do to start walking in your identity this week? What's one thing that you can say or implement in your relationship to start walking as a partner in your marriage? If you've gotten any kind of value out of today's episode, make sure you share the video with somebody, share it with a friend. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel so that you get notified. Click the little bell icon so that you can get notified every time I upload a video. And I want you to remember that you are not dishonoring your marriage by being yourself. You're actually honoring it by showing up as the woman that God made you to be. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Or walking on eggshells. Oh my gosh.